Today I'm going to give you 6 tips to implement guided writing into your classroom or your homeschool class and be successful while doing so. Be sure to watch this until the end because I'm going to give you some bonus tips on how to implement guided writing effectively. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Rebecca with Cherished Children Ministries. Students will need to use their writing folders often, and so you as the mom teacher or the classroom teacher will need to make sure that the steps I'm going to talk to you about today get accomplished. Step number 1, plan a focus lesson for the small group or the whole class based on if you are a homeschool mom teacher or a traditional classroom teacher. You will base this lesson around a key quality of whatever trait that you have planned to discuss for the day. You will want to use your assessment results from some of your children's writing to decide which key quality that you need and want to teach. Your children will get out their anonymous sample. This is the piece of writing that you've already given the students. You've asked them to keep it in their writing folder. You want all of your students, all of your children to be looking at the exact same piece of writing as you do this because you are going to think aloud with this piece and you will want your children to follow along with you. Number 2, you will model in front of your students how to revise or edit the anonymous piece of writing for the key quality that you have chosen for the day. You will make the changes right there in front of your children or your students and you will have them follow along. I like to use a different colored pen or different colored pens actually when I explain this to my students and tell them exactly what I am doing and then why I am doing. I do not rewrite the piece. Instead, I do what real writers do. I might cross out something and I might circle another. Maybe I use the proofreader's marks and I insert something. Or maybe I even draw arrows. I use the editing symbols and I even write in the margin. I might even get out a pair of scissors and completely cut something out of the piece of the writing and paste it someplace else. I really want to show my children how I do this so that they understand it is a process. And all writers do these things. How many times I've had students moan and complain and lose complete interest in writing just because they have to rewrite something. Rewriting is not about them and doesn't have to be about them. So I work really hard to let my children know the process and I try to have as much fun as possible doing it. I encourage my students to go ahead and mark up the piece of writing that's in front of them with me so that they can practice. I have them bring their writer's toolbox with them, which includes scissors and different colored pens and markers. I will attach a link below that has some different ways that we use those. I actually use this in the revising process and I have a color for everything that I do. I might use red for something and yellow for something and blue for something else. So just click the link below to access that. Number 3, if I'm in the classroom, I will usually ask my students to get a partner, or if you are at home, or like whenever I'm at home with my own kids, I have them work together in a group. You can make your group work for however many children that you have at home or in your classroom. Then I will ask my students to select a piece of writing from their folders and then also get the student-friendly scoring guide out so that they can work together to assess the piece of writing for the key quality that we have just talked about in our focus lesson. I will attach a link below with the student-friendly scoring guide. I want to do this while the idea is still fresh and they have just seen me revise the piece, so now they have that confidence to go ahead and go do the same immediately after I am finished. Number 4, I provide enough time for my students to revise and or edit their drafts on their own writing with their partners or their siblings. Enough time is critical. Please make enough time for this to happen in your day. Now what I like to do is actually walk around the room and drop in and listen to see how my children are doing. I love to hear the conversations that are taking place and the learning that is happening. I carefully listen to who might need some extra assistance and I give a lot of praise during this time. I express how proud I am of the students' hard work and how I see so much improvement. I note a specific skill that they are using or that they are improving upon. For example, I might say something like, How thoughtful of you to combine those two sentences together. Or I'm really impressed about how you decided to cut this sentence out and paste it in a different paragraph where it is being discussed. Just make sure that you focus on your students and your children and what they are doing specifically in your own class or homeschool class. Number 5, I know that my children really like to share, like most children do. This is a really great time to let this happen naturally. I just ask my students to read their revised or edited pieces aloud to their group or their partners or siblings. When both or all of the students have finished, I then ask them to reassess their pieces, and then this time to use the student-friendly scoring guide, which I've attached below. I like to have my students discuss the parts that he or she has improved upon, and also to share the areas that they think they might need a little bit of work. When they can actually conclude that they need to work on something, it makes more sense to them. And then further action is taken. Number 6, after they are finished sharing, I usually ask my students to place their writing back into their writing folders so that they are ready to use for our next class time together. I like to have my students change the pieces of writing in their folders at least twice a quarter. This way I know that my students are not just working on the same piece all of the time. My students have such varied writing styles that I really like for them to have a variety to work with. But you can do what works best for you and your own children and their needs. Bonus tip number 1, store the folders in a central area of your room, or perhaps a cart if you are a homeschool mom. Just make sure to keep them in view so that they are not hidden. Number 2, in your record book, indicate when your students successfully apply a focus lesson skill. Do not take a grade on this. These are just drafts in which your students have actually applied the skill. Just make sure to make a note that they actually applied that skill that you just taught. Remember, this is practice for their real writing. You just want to note that they are indeed learning, and yes, they are applying those skills. Bonus tip number 3, when students get tired of working on a piece, go ahead and retire it and choose a different piece to put in the folder. You can do this as often as you wish. Well, that's all for today. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button below. Thank you for watching this video.